So one of the biggest decisions we've come to in the last couple of weeks is that we're not going to get rid of the existing slab in the outbuilding. Originally we talked about taking the slab up, building another concrete base, and that was largely based upon the fact that we had a little bit of water ingress, a little bit of moisture around the edges, so we'd need to dig down, find out what the problem is, and then put your DPM in up the side of the wall. But actually, talking to a number of people, we decided to actually keep the existing concrete slab, largely because we didn't know what we were going to find if we were to dig down. And all it meant was that, obviously, the compromise is that we'll just lose a little bit of height. We've got the vaulted ceiling and quite a good space for the head height of the mezzanine, so we didn't see it as that much of an issue. But all along this back wall, this is the partition between the area that we're converting into an annex and my workshop. We've obviously got this step down from this level down to this floor level. And underneath this slab, which has been poured, I don't know when it was poured, but basically the membrane ends here. So the result of that meant that any water coming in, any moisture was coming underneath the DPM in this part of the building and then down onto the floor. And it was, at one point, it was actually trickling in. And I've got videos of that. It's quite shocking, really. So what I did was I sort of tried to plug the holes a little bit with some concrete, and then I applied this tanking slurry over the top, and it has since, I haven't seen any moisture here whatsoever, so it's definitely done its job. And it's been a while and we've seen some really big rains this year, so I'm hoping this, plus the fact that I've installed the French drain around the back of the building, has stopped that water ingress and has made it a far drier room. Clearly we're still going to put a membrane on top of this before the installation, before we start the build, but it's good to know that with this tanking slurry it really has helped. And I'm just going to use tanking slurry up to about this level and all the way around. So the first thing I need to do is just tidy up, make sure everything's dust free, and then fill any holes. I'm going to fill any holes, tiny little holes with concrete, wait for that to go off, and then tank it with the tanking slurry. So I'll apply some of this tanking slurry just to the bottom section of the room. It's worked really well over there, and that was absolutely dripping wet, but now it looks like it's nice and dry. Things we're going to need, we need a drill and a paddle on there. We need a water bottle to measure the amount of water that I'm going to mix it up. There are instructions on the back of this as to tell you exactly how much you need to mix up. It's quite important you get the right measurement. You need a bowl to mix it in and a big stiff brush like this to actually apply on. You need to apply 2 coats with enough time in between as well. As with most projects, first thing to do is a quick sweep up, making sure all the surfaces are nice and sound before we can apply the slurry. So after all that brushing up, I've just remembered that this rock here is protruding into the room, so that's going to affect the stud that goes up there, the stud wall, when we come to build that. So I'm actually going to have to chop that off and then do that clean up all over again. Oh joy. Here's the offending block. You can see the red line roughly where the stud is going to go, and that block there is going to prevent that from happening, so just need to chop it off. So I've chopped off a piece of stone here that was poking into the wall and poking into the room. It's going to prevent us putting the studs up. And now it's a classic have another sweep. So I've all swept up, got as much as I can away, but I'm just going to run the hoover over to get rid of any finer particles of dust to make sure that this tanking slurry really takes hold of the wall. Read the instructions on the back of the bag, and it says I need to dampen the surface, so I've just got the brush that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to dampen it by just applying some water with the brush. So I'm only going to be using half of this bag. In order to apply this product, you have to do 2 coats. So I'm going to do half a bag now, wait till overnight, and then do half a bag tomorrow. So for a full 25 bag, it's between 25 kilogram bag, it's between 4.5 and 4.7. So I'm using a half bag, so I've gone for about 3.3 litres. I've got this Nalgene bottle which handily has the measurements on the side. So I've got my 3.3 litres of water in here. I'm then going to mix it up with half of the bag and the paddle mix. So I've done my mixing with the paddle, and there's no lumps in it, and it's a good consistency, and you have to leave it for 10 minutes, which I've done that now, so I'm ready to start applying the slurry. I am probably going to get quite a lot of flack for using a tanking slurry like this in an old stone building, but I have thought long and hard for the reasons why I am using it. Firstly, I'm only doing it in the bottom section here. In a previous video, when you see outside of this property, there is the grass comes down to this sort of level, and then it drops down into a French drain and then up the other side. I've used tanking slurry in the lower section. It's only 10 inches off the ground in the other corner where it was really damp, and it's completely resolved the problem there. So I thought, well, I've done it there. We had some signs of damp on this side. If it's worked over there, it's probably going to work here. The second reason we're using it is people often say, well, you need to let the walls breathe. See, in this barn conversion, we are going to let the walls breathe. We're going to build a carcass within the breathable walls. So I just figured we're only going this high with the non-breathable tanking slurry. The rest of the walls can breathe. It's just not allowing water in underneath the damp course membrane. And then the third criteria, well, why are you doing this if you're putting a damp-proof membrane in? Well, belts and braces are pro, and we just don't want to put all this down and then think, oh, I really wish we'd done a bit of tanking. So that's why we decided to tank just the lower section of the building. First coat of tanking slurry is down. Already done in that corner and around the front there. So it's just this area. I'm pleased with how it's all gone on. Let it dry overnight, then another coat tomorrow. So the tanking slurry's had actually 3 days now drying out, so we're now ready to start applying the second coat of the tanking slurry. So that's the tanking now complete. The second layer of tanking's gone on the ground and coming up the wall a touch. So it just needs to wait for that to dry, and then we can start levelling. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it and make sure you subscribe to the channel to get notified when the next video goes live. Thanks for watching.